industry from preference-driven competitiveness to productivity and skills-driven competitiveness, environmental-friendly steps-driven competitiveness. I think that is what we should now think. When there will not be in the European Union, we will have to enter by paying the duties, etc., etc. If not in 2026, then 2029, the day will come. So I think it is very important that we think about the emerging global scenario of trading and be prepared for that. And there I think that the issues that we have been discussing, environmental friendly production processes which require traceability, which require recycling, which require, as you have rightly mentioned, the closing of the loop, as it were. So these are becoming the new normal. You see, Shams, you have very rightly mentioned that the demands in the global market are increasing in terms of green-friendly and environment-friendly production. But I think that will become the new normal, and we cannot really expect after, right now, as you have very rightly mentioned, that we are not getting the premium for the environmental friendly production processes that we are pursuing. And I think if we will not get the premiums, because that will become the new normal in the emerging global trading scenario. So, what do we do? So, you rightly mentioned about the policy support. I think that we must make the distinction between the short term and the medium to long term. In the short term, maybe that if you are using environmental friendly production processes, or if you have to set up an ETP, is costly. But over the medium to long term, it will make good economic sense also, you see. But the challenge in the short term is that you will have to invest a lot, and there the policy support should come. And with regard to fiscal policies, whether when you are importing solar panels, what is the import duty on the solar panels? Are you getting some concession with regard to that? If you are producing environment friendly, at the enterprise level, the production process. So there the policies come. If you are setting up an effluent treatment plant, you are using, less water. So over the medium to long term, it will make good economic sense. But over the short term period, you need to invest. So what is the cost of capital? So there I think, as I said, the fiscal monetary policies of the government are very important to support not only the existing entrepreneurs but also the new entrepreneurs who are coming. For example, for the new entrepreneurs, unencumbered land is a major problem in Bangladesh, and access to unencumbered land. So if we set up at least 10 special economic zones, where at least we have addressed this major stumbling block, then that's a help. So I think that the policy that is being pursued by the BIDA, that at least we will set up 10 special economic zones and up and running, and then we will expand gradually. So that is also a great help, policy help. I remember that when I started to do research on ready-made garments many years back, and Rakesh knows that, and he was also president of the association. The discourse that we had at that time and the discourse that we are now having are so different. We are now talking about the 21st century issues, as it were. In those days, we thought about cash compensation schemes, the back-to-back LCs, bonded warehouse facilities. But now, as we go forward, the newly emerging demands of the market demand newly emerging policy support, newly emerging production processes. And let us also remember, it's just not European Union's Green Deal or carbon border management. It is also the brands and buyers who are demanding that in certain ways the production processes take place. It is also the advocacy groups and consumers. So it's not not a question of option. It is becoming, as I said, the new normal. So there, I think that we have to first of all recognize that the global scenario is changing. We are now, it is SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals demand also sustainable production processes. And this traceability, you will have to, as Rafiz was mentioning, that before coming to this session, we went together and visited some of the really excellent, some of the exhibitions that we are having here. And this is also one way of promoting the concept of sustainability. And we saw how they are trying to adapt to the newly emerging global market. So the entrepreneurs will have to be supported with regard to that. And it was very rightly mentioned by Rafi that the value addition in this sector is so high, and value addition means more foreign currency, more comfortable reserves, stability of our exchange rate. So there are so many multiple positive externalities, as we say in economics, and that we can have from an industry which used to be importing industry, but now it is import substituting industry. So $1 saved is $1 of export. I look at it in that way. So from that perspective, I think the policy makers will also have to look at broader sense the ready-made garments, but also in the context of our discussion today, the backward linkage industry, number one, and also this industry as a direct exporter, just not only deemed exporter. And Rafiz mentioned that out of the $8 billion, $1 billion is direct export. But I was looking at some of the only 4 items, packaging, carton, so 4 items, and I was looking at the global trade data set. These 4 items, last year we exported $350 million. The global market is $100 billion, $100 billion, just these four items. So there are so much opportunities to expand, and as you know, everyone is now telling China plus one, and who will be the one? So I think Bangladesh is very well positioned to enter into the process of globalization from a position of strength. But both the entrepreneurs and the policymakers will have to be tuned to this newly emerging demands in the global market. And there, I think number one, the budget is coming, and you have asked us policies. I think number one is that some of the items which are important for from the perspective of green production should be taxed at low rates. Some of the items I just mentioned, like the solar panel and others. The second, obviously, is also trade facilitation. You see, we have now formulated a logistics policy, but sometimes the entrepreneurs want incentives because the cost of doing business is so high. They try to compensate through these incentives. But if you can reduce those through trade facilitation, better trade facilitation, and that trade facilitation is also the demand in the global market of the green trade facilitation. So what does it mean? Digital trade, single window. All these are becoming also very important in terms of sustainable production processes. So we have to have that broader vision, and the policies will have to be tuned to that. But of course, the onus is on the entrepreneurs themselves. They have to take the risk, and they will have to be supported in taking those risks. But in the end, it is the benefits that the entrepreneurs bring, and just not the dollars, but the employment, decent employment, giving decent wages to the workers, creating the aggregate demand, which then can be met with industrialization. So there is a virtuous cycle from the perspective of which we have to look at this particular sector and the support that we have to design for the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was really